My sister begged me to keep a secret she said would our family if it got out. I promised her I would, not realizing that keeping it would slowly destroy me instead. When the truth finally came to light, everyone turned on me for not speaking. I learned too late that silence can break a family faster than the truth ever could. My sister Emma called me at 2 a.m., crying so hard I could barely understand her words. Through the sobbing, I caught fragments: pregnant, affair, and please don't tell anyone. I should have hung. I should have told her to call our parents immediately. Instead, I listened as she begged me to keep the secret that would eventually destroy our entire family. It's Dad's best friend Jake, she whispered. We've been for months. I'm pregnant and I don't know what to do. If Mom finds out, if anyone finds out, it'll hurt. Promise me won't say anything. Promise me. The words hit me like ice water. Dad's best friend Jake, the man who'd been at every birthday party, every holiday dinner, every family barbecue for the past 15 years. The man Mom trusted completely. The man Dad considered a brother. Emma, have to tell them, I said, my voice shaking. This is insane. Jake is married. He has kids. And Dad, don't understand. Mom's been so happy lately. Dad, just wedding is in 3 months. I can't destroy everything. I can't be the one who ruins our family. I stared at my ceiling in the darkness, feeling something heavy settle in my chest. This wasn't my secret to keep. But Emma was my baby sister. The little girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. The one who'd always turn to me when things got bad. What about Jake? I asked weakly. What does he say? He says he'll leave his wife. That will figure it out. But not yet. He needs time. Please, just give us time to figure this out. I'm begging, but every instinct I had screamed that this was wrong. That keeping this secret would be like swallowing hoping someone else would. But the desperation in her voice broke something in me. Okay, I whispered, and felt my soul. I won't tell anyone. The relief in her voice should have made me feel better. Instead, it made me want to throw. That was 6 months ago. 6 months of watching my family laugh and smile while this cancer grew inside me. 6 months of watching Dad clap Jake on the back at family dinners while Jake stole glances at my sister across the table. 6 months of watching Mom plan my sister Sarah's wedding while her other daughter carried her husband's best friend's child. The worst part wasn't even the lying. It was watching everyone be genuinely happy while I carried this alone. Dad would talk about how proud he was of Emma for finally getting her together. Mom would glow talking about maybe having grandchildren someday soon. Sarah would joke about Emma being the next one to get married. I started avoiding family gatherings. When I couldn't avoid them, I drank too much. My girlfriend Lisa noticed something was wrong, but I couldn't tell her. How to explain that are slowly dying inside because promised to keep a secret that gets heavier every day. I've been different. Lisa said one night, curling next to me on the couch. Distant. Are we okay? I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to tell someone, anyone, because carrying this alone was me. But I'd promised Emma. And every time I thought about breaking that promise, I imagined Mom's face when she found out. I imagined Dad's world crashing down. I imagined our family scattered and broken. So I kissed Lisa's forehead and lied. Just work stress. I'm fine. But I wasn't fine. I was drowning. Emma's Billy started showing. She told everyone she'd been seeing someone but it didn't work out, that she was planning to raise the baby alone. Mom immediately went into supportive mode, planning baby showers and converting the spare room into a nursery. Dad talked about being an amazing grandpa. Jake played his part perfectly. The concerned family friend. The supportive uncle figure who was just so happy for Emma and would help however he could. Sometimes I caught him looking at her with this possessive hunger that made my skin crawl, but no one else seemed to notice. The family was thrilled. A new baby. A fresh start for Emma. Everyone was talking about how mature she'd become, how responsible. Mom kept saying it was like watching her baby girl become a woman. I started having panic. The weight of what I knew sat on my chest like a boulder. I'd wake in cold sweats, dreaming about the moment when everything would inevitably fall apart. Because it would fall apart. Secrets like this always do. And when it happened, I'd be standing right in the middle of the 3 weeks before Sarah's wedding. I almost broke. We were all at Mom and Dad's house for Sunday dinner, and Jake was there with his wife Karen and their 2 young kids. Emma was 6 months pregnant now, glowing and beautiful, accepting congratulations from everyone. I watched Jake's son, maybe 8 years old, playing with a toy car on the floor near Emma's feet. This innocent kid who had no idea his dad was about to destroy 2 families. I watched Karen laughing at something Dad said, completely trusting and happy. I watched Mom fuss over Emma talking about cribs and baby claws, and I watched Jake, sitting there like he belonged. Like he hadn't planted it in the center of our lives that was ticking down to zero. I excused and locked in the bathroom, dry heaving into the toilet. The secret was eating me alive, consuming me from the inside out. But I'd promised Emma, and breaking that promise felt like betraying her twice. When I came back out, Jake was standing in the hallway. Okay buddy, he asked, his voice full of concern. Look pale. I stared at him. This man who'd taught me to throw a baseball, who'd been there for my high school graduation, who'd helped Dad fix our roof 3 summers ago. Now he was asking if I was okay while he slowly poisoned everything we'd built together. I'm fine, I managed to say. He patted my shoulder and I had to not to flinch away from his touch. Good, family's important, no. We have the hypocrisy of it knocked the wind out of me. But still I said nothing. 2 weeks before Sarah's wedding, Emma went into early labor. The call came at 3 a.m. again. This time it was Dad, his voice tight with panic. Emma's at the hospital. The baby's coming early. We need here now. I drove through empty streets with my heart hammering against my ribs. 7 months. The baby was coming at 7 months and I knew exactly what that meant. Jake would have to make a choice. Be there for the birth of his child, or maintain the lie. When I got to the hospital, our whole family was in the waiting room. Mom was crying quietly, Dad was pacing and Sarah was holding Mom's hand. Normal family crisis mode, except for the secret sitting in my chest like a tumor. Where's Jake? I asked, though I already knew the answer would destroy me. He's in there with her. Dad said, relief evident in his voice. Thank God. She was asking for him specifically. He's like family, no. I'm so glad she has that support. My vision went gray around the edges. Jake was in the delivery room, with Emma, with his child, while his wife sat at home, probably thinking he was at a late business meeting. I excused and found the nearest bathroom, where I everything I'd eaten in the past 12 hours. This was it. This was the moment where pretending became impossible. A baby doesn't lie about its parentage. Tests, birth certificates, medical records, they all tell the truth even when people don't. When I came back, a doctor was talking to my parents. Healthy baby boy but small. Would need to stay in the ICU for a few weeks, but prognosis was good. Everyone was crying happy tears. Can we see them? Mom asked, practically vibrating with excitement. Family only for now, the doctor said. Mother is exhausted, and we want to keep visitors limited. I watched Jake emerge from the room, and something in his face had changed. He looked like a man who'd just seen his whole world shift on its axis. This wasn't a secret anymore. This was his son, his flesh and his responsibility. But he still said nothing. Over the next few days as Emma recovered and the baby grew stronger, I watched our family fall in love with a child whose existence was built on a lie. Dad bought cigars and handed them out to everyone at work. Mom started knitting tiny blankets. Sarah postponed her honeymoon so she could help with the baby when Emma came home. The baby looked exactly like Jake. Same nose, same chin, same dark hair. But Jake's wife Karen had dark hair too, so no one questioned it when Karen cooed over how much the baby looked like Uncle Jake. I started drinking heavily. Not just at family gatherings now but every night. Lisa was getting worried my work was suffering, and I was losing weight cause I could barely keep food down. The secret had grown into a living thing inside me, consuming everything good in my. I'm making an appointment with Dr. Rodriguez, Lisa said one morning, finding me passed out on the couch with an empty bottle next to me. This isn't normal stress. This is something bigger and need help. But how to tell a therapist that dying because or keeping a secret that will destroy everyone love? How to explain that or watching family bond with a lie and every day makes it worse? Emma brought the baby home, and suddenly every family gathering became a celebration of this perfect little boy who represented everything wrong with our family. Mom and Dad fought over who got to hold him first. Sarah practiced changing diapers for when she had kids of her own. And Jake came by almost every day, always with some excuse, dropping off food, checking on Emma, bringing gifts for the baby. His wife thought he was being a supportive family friend. My parents thought he was going above and beyond. I knew he was a father visiting his son. The breaking point came 3 days before Sarah's wedding. Emma asked me to babysit while she went to a final dress fitting for the wedding. Just for 2 hours, she said. Mom and Dad were busy with wedding preparations, and she trusted me completely. I sat in Emma's living room, holding this tiny baby, staring into eyes that looked exactly like Jake's. This innocent child who would grow thinking his grandfather was actually his father. Who would never know his real siblings, who lived just across town. Who would be raised on a lie so fundamental that it poisoned everything about his existence. The baby started crying, and I couldn't make him stop. I walked him around the room bouncing him gently, but nothing worked. Finally I just sat down and cried with him. Two people trapped in a lie that was bigger than both of us. That's when Jake walked in. He had a key apparently. Just let himself into Emma's house like he owned it. When he saw me crying with his son, something shifted in his expression. Rough day, he asked, taking the baby from me with practiced ease. The crying stopped immediately. I watched this man comfort his child, and something inside me finally snapped. When are gonna tell him? I asked. Jake froze. Tell him what? That or his father? When are gonna tell wife? When are gonna tell my parents? When does this lie end? For a moment, Jake looked genuinely afraid. Then his expression hardened. I don't know what think no. I know everything, I said standing. Emma told me, 6 months ago. I've been carrying this secret like it's me and it is. It's me, Jake. He was quiet for a long time, rocking the baby gently. She wasn't supposed to tell anyone. Yeah, well, she was scared and pregnant and didn't know what else to do. So she dumped it on me. And I've been drowning in it ever since. Can't tell anyone, he said finally. It would destroy everything. My marriage, parents, the kids. It's gonna come out anyway, I said. No, it is. Secrets like this don't stay buried. And when it does come out, everyone's gonna know I knew. Everyone's gonna know I could have stopped this train wreck and chose not to. Jake stared at me with something like hatred. So what do you want? Money. Is that what this is? The suggestion hit me like a. I want to do the right thing. I want to stop letting my parents fall in love with a grandchild who's built on a lie. I want to stop letting wife think she's married to a faithful man. I want to stop making me complicit in this nightmare. And if I don't? I looked at him holding his son, this man who'd been like family to me my entire, and realized I didn't recognize him anymore. Then I'll tell them. He nodded slowly, like he'd been expecting this. Give me until after the wedding. Sarah deserves her day. After that, I'll figure something out. I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell him that every day we waited made it worse. But Sarah's wedding was in 3 days and she'd been planning it for 2 years. The idea of destroying that seemed almost as terrible as keeping the secret. 1 week after the wedding, I said, that's it. If don't tell them by then, I will. Sarah's wedding was perfect. Beautiful ceremony, amazing reception, our whole family crying happy tears as she danced with Dad. Emma was there with the baby, glowing and proud. Jake was there with Karen and their kids, playing the role of loving family friend. I was there too, counting down the days until I could finally breathe again. But Jake never intended to tell anyone. I realized that when I saw him at the reception, dancing with Karen, kissing her like nothing had changed. When I watched him pose for photos with his family while his real son slept in Emma's arms across the room. The week after the wedding came and went, Jake avoided my calls. When I finally cornered him at Dad's birthday dinner 2 weeks later, he pulled me aside and said, I need more time. Karen's pregnant again. I can't do this to her right now. More lies, more pretending. That night, I made a decision that would haunt me forever. I called Emma. I can't do this anymore, I told her. I told I'd keep secret, but it's me. Jake won't tell them, so I have to. She cried. I've tell them, I'll never forgive. None of this is business. Promised me. Ed, keeping that promise has destroyed my. I said, I'm done, Emma. I'm telling Mom and Dad tomorrow. I should have done it immediately. I should have driven straight to their house and told them everything. Instead, I went home and drank until I passed out, planning to tell them the next morning when I was sober and could explain everything clearly. But Emma got there first. I woke to 17 missed calls and a text message that made my turn to icy. Family emergency. Come to Mom and Dad's house now. When I arrived, the scene was chaos. Mom was sobbing on the couch, Dad was pacing the living room like a caged animal, and Sarah was holding the baby while Emma sat in the corner, looking completely broken. Where have been? Dad demanded. Been calling for hours. What happened? Emma told us everything, Mom said through her tears. About Jake. About the baby. About these went weak. She told. She had to, Emma said, her voice hollow. Jake told Karen last night. She called him screaming to tell everyone. So he told her and then she called Dad. The room spun around me. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. Emma was supposed to have time to explain. There was supposed to be a plan. How long have known? Dad asked me, his voice deadly quiet. The question I'd been dreading for months. The moment when my silence would finally catch to me. 6 months, I whispered. The silence that followed was deafening. 6 months. Dad repeated slowly. I've known for 6 months that my best friend was sleeping with my daughter. That he got her pregnant. That he's been sitting at my dinner table, playing with his son while lying to my face. And said nothing. I don't care. Art, am I ask it? Dad exploded. Or my son. We're supposed to protect this family, not help tear it apart. Mom looked at me like she'd never seen me before. How could watch us fall in love with this baby knowing it was all built on lies? How could let me plan dinners and holidays with Jake, knowing what he'd done to us? I tried to explain about Emma begging me, about not wanting to destroy the family, about hoping Jake would do the right thing. But every word made it worse. Every excuse sounded hollow and selfish. Destroyed us anyway, Sarah said, bouncing the baby gently while tears streamed down her face. Be keeping quiet, made it so much worse. We had a right to know. We had a right to make our own decisions. She was right. They all were. The next few hours were a blur of shouting, crying, and revelations that kept getting worse. Jake's wife Karen had filed for divorce and was demanding full custody of their other children. She'd already told her family, and word was spreading through our small town like wildfire. Emma's phone wouldn't stop ringing with calls from friends and extended family who'd heard the news. But the worst part was watching my parents' marriage under the weight of betrayal. Not just Jake's betrayal but mine. Dad kept asking how Mom couldn't have seen the signs. Mom kept asking why Dad had trusted Jake so completely. They turned on each other because they couldn't make sense of how their family had fallen apart without them noticing. 30 years. Dad said to no one in particular. 30 years I've known Jake. I was best man at his wedding. He was supposed to be best man at yours, he said to me. I loved him like a brother. Wall did, Mom whispered. Over the next few weeks, the family I'd tried so hard to protect completely disintegrated. Dad off all contact with Jake, obviously, but he also became suspicious of everyone. He questioned every family friend, every neighbor, anyone who'd been close to us. Mom fell into a deep depression and barely left her bedroom. Sarah herself into work and avoided family gatherings entirely. Emma moved back in with our parents, but the dynamic was poisonous. Dad could barely look at her without seeing Jake's betrayal. Mom tried to help with the baby but couldn't stop crying every time she held him. The little boy who should have brought joy to our family became a constant reminder of how thoroughly we'd been destroyed. And me, I became the villain of the story. Because while everyone could understand Emma's fear and desperation, while they could even forgive her for the affair and the lies, they couldn't understand why I'd watched them suffer for months while knowing the truth. Emma had been young and scared. Jake had been selfish and predatory. But I had been their son, their brother, their family, and I'd chosen silence over truth. Lisa left me 3 months after everything came out. I can't trust anymore, she said simply. If could lie to own family about something this big, if could watch them suffer while knowing could end it, how do I know won't do the same to me? My work fired me after I showed one too many times. My friends stopped calling after the story made it into the local newspaper. Small town scandals travel fast. I moved into a studio apartment across town and spent most days in alone. The final came on what should have been the baby's first Christmas. Emma had been trying to put together some kind of family celebration, desperate to create normalcy for her son. She invited everyone to Mom and Dad's house, hoping we could at least pretend to be a family for one day. I showed not tipsy, not slightly buzzed, completely, belligerently. When Emma asked me to help her set the high chair, I knocked over the Christmas tree. When Dad tried to calm me down, I started screaming about how this was all Jake's fault, not mine. Want to know the truth? I slurred, pointing at the baby sleeping in his carrier. That kid's gonna grow knowing his whole family hated his father. He's gonna grow knowing his existence tore everyone apart, and are all gonna blame me for that too. Mom started crying. Dad physically me out of the house. Emma called me later that night and told me not to contact her again. I thought I was protecting, I said. We're protecting, she replied. We're scared of being the messenger who got, so let all of us get instead. She was right. Emma was right, Sarah was right, my parents were right. I hadn't kept the secret to protect them. I'd kept it because I was a coward who didn't want to be responsible for but silence, I learned, is just another form of, it just takes longer to destroy everything. That was 2 years ago. Emma's son is walking now, saying his first words. Emma's engaged to a good man who loves them both and doesn't care about the circumstances of the baby's birth. Sarah got promoted and bought her own house. Mom and Dad are in counseling, trying to rebuild their marriage. Jake moved to another state after his divorce was finalized. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he pays child support for Emma's son but has no visitation rights. Emma made sure of that. Me. I live alone in a 1-bedroom apartment, work at a gas station, and haven't spoken to my family in over a year. My last conversation with any of them was when Dad called to tell me not to come to Emma's engagement party. Made choice, he said. Chose Jake's comfort over our family's right to the truth. Now get to live with that choice. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell him that I'd tried to do the right thing, that I'd been stuck in an impossible situation, that Emma had begged me to keep quiet. But deep down, I knew he was right. When someone trusts with a secret that could destroy other people, and choose to keep that secret, become responsible for every day that destruction continues. Every family dinner where lies were told, every moment my parents bonded with a baby whose existence they deserved to understand, every night Karen went to sleep thinking she was married to a faithful man. I told I was protecting my family, but I was really just protecting from having to deliver terrible news, and in trying to avoid them, I'd them so much worse. The worst part isn't the loneliness, though that's brutal, it's knowing that somewhere across town, there's a little boy who will grow with questions about his father that no one wants to answer. Questions that exist because I was too much of a coward to tell the truth when it mattered. I see them sometimes, my family, around town, at the grocery store or the coffee shop. We don't acknowledge each other. They've built anew without me, and honestly they seem happier for it. Because some betrayals can't be forgiven, and some choices can't be undone. Emma asked me to keep a secret that would destroy our family, and I said yes. I thought I was choosing love over truth, protection over pain. Instead I learned that keeping someone else's will first, but the people trying to save will anyway.